Hey guys, welcome back. It's Landon and Jason again. It's the Big Game Hunters. Last episode that we did together got, an incredible amount of traction.
Great response.
Great response.
It started a conversation.
Well, exactly, and that was the first truly big one that we've had, and it was a lot to do with our Redditors. Thank you so much for tuning in and contributing. So our last episode was, what. Like Vancouver tech talent, like what gives? Like why is it so hard to find tech talent in Vancouver? And we're gonna build off that momentum and on
step
today's
away from
episode,
the landscape of Vancouver and look at more of a
what makes a good
perspective.
developer. What makes a good software developer? I know that's one of your primary focuses in your business, and you close a lot of developer positions for a lot of great companies.
It's big business.
So I'll let you open up the stage. What makes a good software developer?
I mean, you got to look at it in a variety of different ways. So of course, there's the mind. You got to find somebody who's inquisitive, to find somebody who's creative, somebody who really has an analytical mindset. There's a certain profile of a software developer. I mean, for instance, myself, I probably couldn't be a software developer just because of the focus that it takes, because of the analytic mindset that it takes, and the ability to really just grind out the numbers. It's a very underrated skill, and it's a very tough skill to have. And the top developers, I mean, their mind just works that way. But it's also not just, it's not a robot type thing. It's almost like an art form as well.
Definitely.
It's flexibility. It's ability to go in and find an alternative way of doing things. It's somebody who's flexible and not just, they might know a way to do it, and it might be the easy way to do it. And we're guilty of that in any sort of industry. It's like, I know how to do this. It's going to take a while, but I do it because I know I won't do it wrong. It's ability to, willingness to fail, willing to try, work with a new technology they maybe haven't worked with before, and find out flexible ways of doing it. And then of course, attention to detail is huge. It's from sort of the intelligence, from the brain perspective. That's the really key part.
Yeah, a big thing too is like a lot of great developers will not be discouraged from trial and error, right? Like I actually went on Code Academy for a bit, and when I had my app, and I tried to learn it a bit. I'm really good at mental math, like really good at quick math, good at math in general. But doing that, like finding ways to beat the code, or finding ways to see, I'm clearly not a developer. You don't beat code, but like finding ways to solve problems or find the errors in your code, like that takes time, and it takes a truly special mindset to be a really great developer to do those things. And that's ultimately, the best minds are the ones sitting in the big companies doing big things. And I think when you're talking about from a company's perspective, when you're looking for a great developer, there's so many aspects that go into it, right? Like skill set is one. Have you done this before? But the big one is who's the person behind it too,
right? The heart.
The heart. Yeah, that's the mind, the heart, the body, the soul. The heart in the developers is huge, especially when the new age cultures are really about collaborative environments, open office environments. It's not like we're putting someone in the corner there and saying go to town, right? It's really this.
Some companies put the headphones on, plug in, plug out, and that's not the way to do it.
It's not the way to do it.
You can do it that way.
Some developers like that, right? I'm going to go tune in, but they can still do that while having the option of the open collab, right? So with the new generation types of cultures that are being formed in terms of teamwork and the results, the proven results that are showed, we need more personality behind developers, which is making them even greater, right?
No, that's huge too. Of course, the passion, the collaborative, the ability to work with a team. I mean, that's something that a lot of developers, that's sort of a skill that's lacking in a lot of developers, is the ability to work collaboratively, not only, listen to other people's feedback, but provide feedback, share, you have that team environment. I mean, that's a huge part of it. And that's a huge part of, being able to grow and learn within a group. I mean, in Vancouver's in particular, this is where we're based, head office is in Vancouver, and in a lot of, other tech, sort of hubs. There's a lot of startups. There's a lot of companies that are getting in from the ground floor. And
Toronto's blown up. Startup scene. I'm doing a lot of work there too.
And they have aspirations to go big. And if you're starting out in a little startup and you're a software developer, being able to provide feedback, being able to receive feedback, and on the ground floor with the executive team, with the beginning team, that's only going to lead to growth going into the future and becoming an equity shareholder, becoming a director, becoming a VP within the company. Yeah,
I think from a personality standpoint, like I've managed developers before with my company, and I had amazing talent, right? And we didn't really know how to flourish it, but they can also be hard to manage because they know more about if you're non-technically managed, right? That's why I always advise for a company to have a CTO or someone who really gets it, but they get it and you don't. So it's very, if you have that bridge, it's very hard to manage as a developer. And the other thing too is like, as any professional, you want to be the best of your craft, right? And the same thing with development. You want to be the best of the best. And I don't blame anyone for doing that. However, you also have to check your ego, because that's a very easy profession to develop quite a large ego in. I'm just sure of it. I've seen large egos in terms of, but it's just like anything. Sales, you need a huge ego too, right?
Of course.
But within an organization, I think that great developers are the ones that can also check that ego and leave it at the door. And then when they go home and they work on their projects, they kill it. Like that's cool, right? But
exactly.
Within that environment, it's very important to have someone that can be managed. But if you are managing them, you want to make sure you're not just managing them, but allowing them to flourish and grow.
Of course. And I mean, that's the huge argument, right? Is do you find a software development manager who is, very, very technical? Sometimes you're sacrificing the leadership for the technical abilities, and finding somebody who has both, obviously that's, a diamond in the rough. It's really, a huge asset to have. But at the same time, sometimes, developers want to go in one of two directions. They want to become an expert at their craft, an expert, technical, who's always doing hands-on because they're passionate about developing and creating within those databases and within that infrastructure, or they have aspirations for leadership and they want to teach and learn and grow the team underneath them. And it's two different paths to take. And sometimes companies will sacrifice leadership skills for other things. But it's important to sort of find that balance.
And I think and you know what, I'm going back to some of the comments that we had at our last subreddit there from all the developers and all the tech talent in Vancouver is, employers really need to drop the years of experience, I think. Like if you go 5 years of experience working with X, Y, and Z software, and you have someone that's done 2 years but has these equivalents in hacking or experience, like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like length of time in development doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be better than someone who's only done it for 3 years.
Yeah, and software in particular. Because some of these technologies are brand new.
Drop it.
And many companies will post, we want 5 years Ruby, we want 5 years Python, we want 5 years these old technologies that people are transitioning from anyways.
Do you know what you want?
Yeah, I know. And it's like, so instead of focusing on 5 years of an old dead technology, maybe you should be looking at your business model and think, okay, maybe we should be pivoting away from these technologies because we shouldn't be using them in 2 years. And B, find talent that's not just has that hard experience, but just is flexible and technically sound.
A good developer will be able to, if they've never worked with a software before, they're the kind of talent that can pick it up quickly, right? So if you're an employer and you need that type of software written, and you're finding a couple roadblocks of what people have, give them an opportunity to at least prove themselves. If you can have a couple technical tests beforehand, maybe on some similar softwares, and they prove themselves, well, then that it's probably going to be a little bit slower or a little bit less of a ramp up time to learn something else, because a good developer will pick up on something fast because they will spend the time after work to be like, how am I getting beat by a software?
No, I think
the best do not get beat by a software or a problem or a coding challenge or whatever it is, right? They go until they beat it.
I think that's a great recommendation to clients. Instead of just giving them the test on the existing software, give them a test on something new that that they don't know. See how quick they can pick it up.
Exactly, or just see how, because again, we go back to the mindset. It's like a good developer is about how they think and how they solve problems and using their analytical skill set to come to a solution for the organization. That's what their whole screen is in front of them, right?
Yeah.
It's like analytical problem after analytical problem, and it's like, if you're very good at that, regardless of the software, you should be able to pick it up over here. So I think as an employer should really look at the levels of experience, because if you have a 5-year set and there's someone amazing in a 3-year set and you're just disregarding them based on that 2 years, you could be missing out on someone that's really, really talented. And that person, unfortunately, could be missing out on a company that they can really contribute to. So I think, is there anything else we should touch on certain software? So soft skills we've hit.
Yeah.
Hard skills, you and I are not software developers.
I don't have the JavaScript, C#.
No, I can't tell you what would make a good,
HTML, I've got HTML.
Yeah, I'm just not that developer. Like I said, I tried learning it, and it's just something that I'm not going to be able to do. I understand the talent market of it. But
I think it'd be good to go over some tips for people who want to become great software developers or get a job in the software development industry. I mean, huge things. I mean, obviously there's, any software development job we look at, they look at experience in database design, object-oriented programming, interface and web design. So getting into those, of course, is pretty cut and dry for somebody. It's obviously try to build up your experience there. And you do that by building up on your web technology skills, your SQL skills, your ASP.NET, C#.
If I was a developer and there was a company that I wanted to work for and maybe they had a couple softwares that I hadn't worked with, you could find it in the JD usually, or you could reach out to someone or tweet at them or something like that to find out what softwares they work with or what programs. And then what you might want to do is, while you're still employed with your current company, say you're looking to make a move, maybe in a year's time or whatever it may be, maybe just start hacking on those. And then, maybe when you go and apply, you say I've actually hacked this for the last year because I've wanted to work here, and here's now what I can do. It gives you an opportunity, because that as a developer, programmer, whatever you want, whatever the title ends up being, their worlds are very open to just keep continually learn. I think that also makes a great developer.
There's tons of different channels.
Always
to do
learning.
too. I mean, there's code camps you can go to. If you're in your
hackathons,
if you're taking your computer science degree at university, there's tons of, you go to your mathematics class, go to your discrete mathematics classes, because those give you a solid fundamental understanding of the concepts behind computer science, and then also take extracurricular activities. Join the extracurricular crews for hacking, code camps. Meetups are huge as well, as we keep on harping on, and study on the side, as Jason mentioned, because that's there's tons of resources. Google is your friend. There's tons of resources in terms of learning these technologies on the side.
I think, as a society, the people that go to university, myself, yourself, the university grads out there, we have this like preconceived notion that we're going to be able to hit the ground running right out of university, and we're going to be able to,
the millennial generation of entitlement.
Woo! Right? Yeah, we are the millennial generation of entitlement and privilege. But if even in a computer science degree, which is such a valued skill, especially with technology and how much it's booming, it still doesn't allow you the capability to hit the ground running to the full intent.
It's more of a jack of all trades.
If you're in school, if you're working, whatever you're doing right now, you should always be developing your skill and make sure that you're the best developer, and focus on what you're passionate about. If it's a certain language or a certain type of work that you're doing, like just focus on that and be the best at it. You don't need to be the jack of all trades, because then you're the master of none, but be the master of one. And everyone's going to want to work with you.
Yeah, and a lot of the companies are looking for not just somebody who wants to focus on specific technologies, but also just be passionate about product. The bottom line as software developers, you're creating something. You can look at that. It's like painting a house. You can look at that house, be like, I painted that, I did that. It's almost like a hands-on job that you can really see what you've done. And so if you're passionate about creating something, you're passionate about the end product versus just the sort of the paths of getting there. It sort of opens up your perspective. You take a step back, and that's where companies love hearing that from people. Is I'm passionate about creation.
And I think with developers, they're very hands-on, and sometimes this is not a knock, but they could have a more narrow focus because they have to, right? But when they're developing, what the company's really trying to get is for them to see the big picture, right? So I'm doing this now because I know that my contribution here is really going to contribute to the big picture of the company.
Yeah.
And if I can continuously evolve on this, that's only going to make the company better for the long run, right? And that's only going to make only going to make me better as a person as well.
Yeah, and then you can stand to the executive team and say, hey, listen, this is the house that I built.
This is the house that I built.
Yeah.
So we've got mind, we've got heart, we've got experience,
skill set,
and
tips for you guys in terms of going into interviews. I mean, touch on touch on the flexibility that you have. Touch on maybe be truthful. If you don't necessarily know a technology, be truthful about that. But talk about your ability to learn. Talk about how quick you pick up on things, and give yourself an opportunity to prove that to them. Be like, listen, I can do a test. Have a portfolio ready to show to people. Have you open source projects, GitHub. Obviously we don't expect you to spend all your time, just like any industry. You don't want to spend all your time programming. Obviously you want to be passionate, but have some things on the side that you can show, just like anybody, is be able to show your work. And then relax in your interview. Treat it as a conversation, not as an interview. Treat it as a conversation between two business partners.
On yes and no answers, always elaborate. If it's a no, if they ask you if you worked on a technical skill and it's a no, you tell them, no, I haven't, because here I worked on here. This is what I know. This is why I'm interested, and you keep the conversation going. Right. So that's it. Big Game Hunters. It's Monday. I hope you all have a great week. Thanks for tuning in. We look forward to the Reddit comments. We look forward to the engagement, and let us know what you think. If you're a software developer out there, what do you think a good developer is, or if you're a hiring manager, what do you think? Because we'd love to know, and I'm sure our community would love to know, and any sort of insight we get would be much appreciated. So Big Game Hunters, magnasearchgroup.tv. Check us out on LinkedIn, SoundCloud, Reddit, Instagram.
We out.
We out.